All right. Get a little setup here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode, the debut of the Be Your Own Hero podcast, the B.Y.O.H cast, the B.O.H cast, the hostess with the mostess, unless you have a hostess. Double entendre, you see what I did there? Anyways. So this is a cast that I wanted to do simply just to ramble. You know, there's no intention, there's no agenda, there's no purpose, at least for today, because it's the first one and I'm getting used to it. But the main purpose for this is so I can just get my thoughts out, and through speaking and focusing on what I'm saying, to just become a little more articulate, you know, become better with my words. And as we go forward, we'll talk about all types of stuff. I don't want to say anything is off limits, anything is off the table, but it will be, we will play it as it goes. You know, if there's something that I feel I want to bring up or discuss that happened, you know, obviously we'll talk about it. If we want to have some fun, we'll have a little bit of fun. But the main thing for this podcast is for me to just become better at public speaking. Not that I have a fear of it, I just sometimes have an issue getting my thoughts out, because I think very fast. My mind is always racing, and my words, my mouth just kind of play catch up. And that's fine. So, as you can see, we have a trigger warning. Because nothing's off the table, that obviously leaves the way for some, uncomfortable topics to come up and be discussed. And it's never my intention to upset anybody. It's never my intention to offend or make anyone uncomfortable. The conversation will naturally progress, or if there's something that I want to speak on a certain topic, be it that's how the conversation progressed, or if someone brings it up in the chat or something that I want to speak on because of something I've seen during the week, then it will be discussed. And like it also says, don't hesitate if you are uncomfortable. You know, we can talk things through. If there's a specific part about a topic that upsets or triggers somebody, then we'll address it. And I also have no issue just, not mentioning it anymore. We can just move on and not focus on that anymore, because I don't want to force people to, say, hey, that's, you have to talk about the hard stuff, when sometimes, while there may be some sense of truth to that, sometimes you're just not prepared to talk about the hard things. If you're thrown into a situation that makes you uncomfortable, you have every right to announce that you're uncomfortable and address that or leave. Not that I'm telling people to leave, but, no one should tell you how to feel about something when it affects you. And everything here is respectful. We have an open mind, we'll have dialogue, we'll have conversations about several different topics, several different things. We're going to be open to all sides of an argument. I want to hear people, not just listen. I want to be able to hear people, even if if I don't believe, trust, understand, I will give people that chance, that respect to explain themselves, because there's always the chance of a misunderstanding. And Lord knows there are so many situations where It's just been a misunderstanding, a miscommunication. Someone, said the right thing in the wrong way, so it was interpreted differently. The telephone game is played, so by the time it gets to the person it was meant to be, it went through 4 different other people, and now the story's different. But we're here to talk. We're here to hang out, here to ramble, and there's just several things at any given moment to talk about. And this is kind of a spur of the moment thing that I wanted to do. When I first started YouTube, like 11 years ago, Jesus Christ. Because my first YouTube video was when I started college. So that was like end of 2014. I had a small series called Thoughts of Xendov, and each episode or video, I would talk about a specific thing, and that's all it was. It was just ranting. I don't remember if I wrote a script out or if I just kind of talked about it. I may have had like an outline of what I wanted to talk about, which is something I could do here. I want to be able to, list out things that I see during the week. If people want to mention things to me, if they want to let me know what's going on so that we can discuss it, I'm completely open to that. Schedule wise, I want to do these every Sunday. So I want to record / stream every Sunday at 12:30. That's going to be the plan, which should work because I don't work Sundays, and if I only work nights anyway. So if I do have to work, I'll still have time for this. So that should work out. So I would stream on Sunday, and then I would upload this VOD, with the intro, outro cut out. I would put up the VOD on Fridays, so people who didn't see it can catch up, and then they watch on Friday and they'll be around for to listen to it again on Sunday, because I don't think people will have time in like an hour a week to just put on a random podcast. And sometimes they might, because it is a podcast. You don't have to watch anything unless I happen to pull up a video to watch something or whatever. But it's possible I could do that, but we're gonna learn as we go. We're gonna figure everything out at some point eventually, and that's fine. Because Monday, Wednesday, Fridays are my upload days for YouTube. Those are what I want to upload for YouTube. And by doing this, it opens up, I don't have to worry about Fridays anymore. As long as I do this, I have Friday content, which leaves, my other streams to make my other content. So this helps me in a lot of ways. It's a very helpful podcast. And I hope that you guys listening in, if you're watching in the future, can just get some sort of comfort and vibe. If you agree with me on any points, cool, love that. If you disagree, that's also cool. If I'm ever wrong or if I'm right on the cusp of getting something, definitely feel free to let me know. The last thing I want is to upset somebody because of misinformation, or if I just happen to say something wrong, or if I happen to say something in what they can interpret as a not respectful tone because I'm kind of just passing by it. But I am here to listen to you guys. I want to hear you guys. So never feel afraid to talk about, what's going on. But yeah, this is just what I wanted to do. I like being able to talk and go over different topics. There's a possibility I could have guests with me just to hang out and just talk some shit. But again, we shall see. Depends on what direction this goes in, how this wants to go, what I feel that people want from this podcast. But yeah, just a VTuber doing VTuber things, aside from getting canceled, because Lord knows VTubers love getting canceled. It seems that every month and a half something happens in the VTuber community. Either someone leaves the studio or a doc drops and then someone's getting canceled, and then it's so much drama all the time, and it becomes really tiring. And one of those things where you're just like, I don't want to associate. I'm just gonna separate. I'm gonna hit the Miles Morales and do my own thing. And it's just a lot. Existing in the VTuber space can just be so tiring sometimes, because it's just always something. And I think everyone has this notion of familiarity and over friendliness to each other. And I don't know if it's a facade or if people are just playing into their personas too much, but they're just really friendly with each other all the time. It doesn't seem authentic. And VTubers, it's all just one amalgamation, one generalization of VTubers. But I think there's a lot of, I don't want to say subsection, but there's different kind of people who are in it for different reasons. There are VTubers who just have an OC, have a model, and they genuinely just want to, hang out and be silly with their friends. All right, cool, that's fine. And there are VTubers who want to build a community just to, be, you could say be a pillar of quote unquote, just to gather that community so that people have other people. Because in life, IRL, a lot of people don't have that community. Even on a smaller scale, they just don't have that. So some VTubers want to garner that community so people don't feel alone, and that's also fine. And there are VTubers who want to make it, VTubers that want it as a career, and that's you do you. I also would love to make it as a content creator, as a VTuber. I kind of just ended up as a VTuber. This was never an intention, but I'm here now. We'll talk about how I became a VTuber either later or at another time. But I think when you take the different factions of VTubers, and I would say there's more than just those three groups, and I did describe them pretty crudely, so I apologize for that. But when you take people who have different end games or different mindsets together, it causes problems. At least when it comes to the streamer space. I highly encourage having friends and associates of different mindsets, because it challenges your own perspective. You want to be able to learn. You can't learn from reading the same book over and over, or watching the same movie over and over. You can pick up on different things every time. The first time you watch, if you're watching a movie, for example, you'll focus on the movie itself, the story. All right, cool. And then with the story in your mind, what's going to happen. You rewatch the movie, you can see subtleties. It's like, oh, well, why did they do that? And you can see from the beginning, if a character in a movie is a traitor or a turncoat or whatever, and you start paying attention to them from the beginning of the movie, you'll notice the nuances. If it's a good movie, or in a book or whatever, you'll notice how they move. Kind of gives away that they're up to something. They might betray someone, or if it's a sudden shift, you can notice when the shift happened. You'll notice that, hey, they were really cold to this person here, but they've been like buddy the whole movie. What happened? And you yourself can watch the same movie several times and pick up on different things each time. But if you talk to somebody else who's also watched the same movie a different time, they'll notice things that you didn't notice, and you notice things that they never noticed. Like, oh, hey, do you notice how as you know, the main character goes through more and more stuff, the movie atmosphere gets darker? Or they switch from like piano keys to string instruments for the music to do this. Like, everyone sees the world through their own eyes, obviously. So I think it's really cool to be around, or at least hear out. But I don't want to encourage like sticking around someone just because they're different from you. You know, because some people are just too different and they're too far gone. Those are people that get canceled and, you know, are crimes and just bad people. But hopefully you get what I'm saying. To welcome in a mind that's different from your own, because nobody knows everything. As smart as you are, you don't know everything. You can't know everything. You can be an expert in your field, but as soon as someone takes you out of there and puts you somewhere else, you know nothing. And this is something that I noticed a lot when I'm at work. And for those of you who don't know, I work at a hospital. I'm not a nurse. I'm not medically trained, but I work in a hospital. And so the nurses, they know their shit. They're great. I love them. Super cool. Fun time. They know their shit. I don't know anything. They're saying big words about medicines and their patients' numbers are going down. I don't know what it is. But as soon as there's a technical issue, a computer's not working, they're out of supplies or whatever, that's when they would let me know, because I can, you know, check, I can troubleshoot whatever the issues are. I know where to go, I know who to call, stuff like that. And it's just interesting that you can spend so much time learning this one thing and you can be really good at it, but when it comes to something else, you're a complete noob. And that's okay, because you can't know everything. That's the mindset of, you need other people in your circles, in your groups. So if you don't know how to do something, you have someone that you can rely on to inform you, to keep you in the loop, to educate you if need be. And to bring that all back to VTubing, it becomes very narrow, I guess. And there's a lot of like headbutting, not batting, with these different mindsets. Mainly with how protective / self-serving they can be. Because there's always a doc of, I'm trying not to use names because I wouldn't remember them, and if I say a name that's not the right name, then it's a whole thing. But I've seen cases of VTubers using other VTubers for clout. You see it everywhere, even with non-VTubers, like other content creators. Like, you're only hanging out with so-and-so because they're popular, you know, you're only collabing with them because they're popular, they have a fan base, you know, you get art with this person, but outside of those interactions, they never talk. They don't do anything. They don't hang out. They don't support each other. They don't show up in other people's streams. All they care about is their own view count, their follower count, their sub count. And they'll play the part of a friend to get those collabs. But as soon as the go live button turns off, they're gone. And they just could not be bothered. Now, with that being said, if your intention is to grow as a content creator, there's nothing wrong with that. But it should be clear that that is what you're here for. And you should associate with other creators who want to grow, because you have the same hustle. Listen, I don't want to keep using the word mindset. You have the same hustle, so you can understand the urge to stream for content. You know, you're streaming for clips, you're clip farming. Whereas if you stream with someone who just wants to garner a community, who would probably just spend most of stream talking with their chat, it wouldn't be the same when you're trying to make content, and your content could be a completionist type of content. So you're here to win the game and look cool, and you want to be a cool gamer, you want to be a good gamer. And collabing with someone whose priority is their chat, it's a different dynamic. Or if you're streaming with someone, or if you want to collab with someone who just hangs out with their friends, they only stream with their friends. So to stream with just you would be different, and sometimes people just don't click. Sometimes people just don't work in a one-on-one setting, and sometimes people don't want to do that. And you can't get mad at that, in my opinion. You know, if this is what you want, this is what they want, it's not the same. And I think that's when the egos and the personality cracks come in, because people can't take no for an answer. And I think that's a really big issue. Like, it goes to slander, it goes to name calling, it goes to harassment, stalking, because this person doesn't want to stream with you. Either they just don't want to, or they have and you made them feel uncomfortable in a certain type of way. And sometimes, hey man, they don't fuck with you like that. Simple as that. They don't fuck with you. Now, on the other hand, not to defend the content driven creator, but a lot of times people don't know how to stand up for themselves, and that really sucks. Because IRL, I was a person who was very go with the flow, just do what needs to be done type of person, and it led me into situations that I would just end up, I would always do stuff for people and just be like tired afterwards. I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I would dread that I have to do this. And it just got to a point where you don't like the person you're becoming because you're too caught up in doing all the other shit. You don't want to have the issue or the worry of, how are they going to take this rejection? How do I stand up for myself when I'm worried about how they're going to feel about it? And it took a while to get to the point of, well, I need to worry about how I feel. Because at the end of the day, you're on your own and I'm on my own. So I need to worry about myself, and I don't want to do this. I'm not in a place to keep doing this just for you when I get nothing out of it, and in some cases you're not even appreciative of it, because like I said before, you want to hang out and stream and do all this stuff, but afterwards you're nowhere to be found. So if someone's not looking for a business relationship, you have to respect that, and they have to be the ones to say, hey, no, I don't want to do that. So there's accountability on both sides in that situation. And I understand that it is very tough to stand up for yourself. And I will say this, I know there are times when they say, hey, I don't like hanging out with you. Like, streaming with you feels kind of forced, and I don't like feeling forced when I stream. It's a weird dynamic. I don't like doing it, which leads into the whole not being able to take rejection and the harassment, the slander, the lies, the rumors, just real childish playground behavior. And that's what I see a lot of in the VTuber community, and I honestly fucking hate it. Right? People will just manipulate and abuse each other for no good reason other than because they can hide behind their screens, and there's no like immediate consequences to their actions. No one's gonna pull up, you know? It just gets to a point of like, I don't know. It's just really disappointing. And the ones that do get canceled usually try to just rebrand under a new Twitter account, a new Twitch account. So it's really tiring. I'm not diminishing any of the victims of, these docs that keep coming out. It just gets really tiring. It's sad and exhausting to have to keep seeing people being mean to each other, to put it lightly, to be just absolutely fucking rude and just pieces of shit to each other. Which is why a while ago, when I first started YouTube, again, forever ago, I came up with B.Y.O.H. And no, it's not bring your own hose. It's be your own hero. Because Lord knows there's been at least one person in our lives growing up, be they real, be they not, a celebrity, a character in a show, of another VTuber, a content creator, whatever, that we looked up to and we really, really liked. And either they do something really bad and they get canceled, and you're just like, damn, I really looked up to you, and you're gonna go around and do this shit, or you find out their whole persona is a lie. Or if it's a character in an old TV show, like growing up, you look back on the show and you're like, wow, this person is kind of a bad character. I don't know why I really like that person. And it leaves people in a state of, well, shit. I looked up to this guy. There's this guy, this girl, this person was like an idol of mine. I aspired to be like them. What do I do now? And I fall into that too. There was some YouTubers. There was a YouTube group that I used to watch from Rooster Teeth called Funhouse. I liked Funhouse. They came from Machinima on Inside Gaming, and they were really cool. And one of the hosts of it was doing some real funny shit. And I'm just like, damn, dude. Out of everyone at Rooster Teeth, well, I mean, Achievement Hunter was doing some foul shit too, but I never watched them. They seemed a little more, they would cater to like a younger audience than I was. I think I was like 14, 15. I was well into my teens when I was watching them, like teen, young adulthood. Achievement Hunter felt like younger than that, like 11 to 14 type age group, because they just did a bunch of random shit. But in Funhouse, there was one that got caught up in some bullshit, and I'm like, damn, dude, you were my favorite in the group. It had to be you. And it's just like, well, shit. But this is why I have the notion of B.Y.O.H, to be the person that you would want other people to look up to, you know? Be the change you want to see in the world, if I had to steal a quote for it. But just to have that faith and idolization in yourself, because only you can hold you accountable. You can only hold yourself accountable. You can't take other people and make them, you know, the person you want to be. That's why relationships fail, because you take someone and try to turn them into who they're not and wonder why they're miserable because they're not who they are. You're forcing a mask on their face and getting upset when they're telling you that they can't breathe, you know? So it's just a lot of bullshit. People need to grow as individuals and just stop, like, whatever issues, traumas, and like past incidents that have made people into, you know, the assholes and the manipulators, abusers and shit that they are today. Like, I hope that they heal from that, but at the same time, fuck you for doing that. Like, fuck you for subjecting someone else to torment because you couldn't heal from your own pain. Like, I understand, but that is not an excuse, and I stand by that wholeheartedly. I do not care. I can understand and feel bad for you, but that does not mean you can inflict that pain onto someone else, because it just perpetuates the cycle. You can do better. You know, I don't like that at all. I don't like when people try to use like the typical YouTuber apology, like, oh, I've been suffering from mental health issues. Like, it's 2025. Everyone has mental health issues of some form or another. Like, it's just such a fucking stressful time to be alive right now. Like, there's so much going on in the world, and when you turn on the news, there's even more bullshit. Like, it's a stressful time to be alive, and it feels like we have no power. So we're all gonna be upset. And the YouTubers who do it, like, you threw away such a blessing, because you get to sit on your ass and you get to play video games or do whatever it is you want to do in the comfort of your own home, and you fucked it up because you didn't address your own issues. And you could say they didn't have a support system. They didn't have people who checked up on them. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of these people, they're just not good people. You know, it comes to a point where it's so easy to develop a community and build a following with social media and content creating that people get lost in their own sauce. You know, anyone can become a really popular content creator. Anybody. You know, they're not signing a contract. They're not having an interview with, you know, a label. They're not having an interview at work so that they can, you know, get the job. No one looks at them, notices something's off and denies them. No, YouTube just says, hey, you reach these requirements, you got the numbers. Twitch just says, hey, you got the numbers, here's your money. And people keep coming back to them. People say, oh, you're so great, you're so great. They're gassing them up that they feel invincible. And when bad people feel invincible, they use that power. I don't know how we could address it without taking away the ease of access that content creating grants, but I don't know. Large content creators should just be subject to therapy. once you hit 1 million subs, YouTube pays for like a year's worth of therapy sessions. Because again, it's always really big content creators. They're really good. They're really big content creators, and they find out they're just lonely, creepy people. And then they prey on their audience because they can. And because it's so easy to get in touch with these people, like as a viewer, as a subscriber, you can just DM anybody. Like, granted, most content creators know to have their DMs closed, but they can still like send the message, and they'll have, you know, they would see it when they check it. Or, you know, again, they could throw a comment in Twitch chat. They can throw a comment under a YouTube video, and that's direct access to this celebrity. Because we're getting to the point now where content creators is just another form of celebrity status. I think that's just where we are now. Like when you have Kai Cenat at like award shows, giving awards and all that stuff, like I think we just have to accept the truth. And the fact that people can go into Twitch chats and whispers, you know, looking at you, Dr. Disrespect. The fact that we have that access is something that has never been a thing before. You were never able to directly message Jay-Z, Beyonce, you know, Boys to Men. You know, like you could write them fan letters and fan mail, but you would never know if they got it. You would never know. But now you have direct access to your celebrities. Outside of being at like a concert for a musician, obviously, but you're not going to be able to get much personal time unless they bring you on stage for something. But we live in a time where it's so easy to directly talk to celebrities that we don't realize that they're still strangers. You know, like you don't know them as much as you think that you would. And that's when being parasocial comes into play. That because you're a regular in their stream and you have regular conversations, that there's something more than there is. And that's incredibly dangerous because there's 1,000,001 examples of content creators preying on their audience through that parasocial dynamic, be it sexual or non-sexual, like grooming or not. You know, they'll play into it to get something out of you, either physically or financially. And it's scary in a way for, you know, the parents of these people, of the children who are able to just talk to their content creators like this, because there's a lot of content creators out there. It's an oversaturated market because everyone's trying to get the easy way out. I don't blame them. I mean, here I am trying to do the same thing. But it's a new thing that we are dealing with. And I don't think that we know exactly the royal we, professional we, general we, whatever. We don't know how to mediate and how to go through it without putting ourselves at risk. And I think COVID played a very big role in that as well, because people were stuck inside and all they had to talk to each other was social media. You would only talk to each other, you know, they would talk to people on streams. Everyone was playing Animal Crossing. So there's a lot that needs to be done to address these problems. And it doesn't just start with streamers. It doesn't just start with content creators, because The same people that are like giving all their money to these content creators, same ones that are in every stream trying to build these parasocial relationships, potentially don't have a support system at home, which is why they try to find that in a streamer. And that's not the streamer's responsibility to take care of their chat. They can care in everything, but at the end of the day, they're a person on the other end of the screen who also has their own life and hopefully their own support system outside of here. So to develop that like dependency is dangerous. I think one could argue dependency in any capacity is dangerous if you don't completely trust the person you are placing that dependency on. Not to say, well, I was gonna say, to exclude parents or whatever, but sometimes like there are bad parents out there. I have seen plenty of examples of really bad parents, and children, unfortunately, are forced into dependency because they just physically, mentally cannot take care of themselves. Financially, they can't take care of themselves. So they're just stuck in this environment where they can't take care of themselves and they have to deal with this person. And so when they have an outlet, sometimes it's their only outlet, which leads to them putting all their eggs in one basket. And I wish there was an easier way to remedy that problem and help fix it. But it starts with the individual. It starts with home. It starts with the responsibility of the streamer to set those boundaries. It's the responsibility of the chat to respect those boundaries. And if they're not respected, then it comes to the streamer and the mods to enforce those boundaries. There's a lot. It's work. It's work, because when you go live, it becomes like work. Even though you're enjoying yourself, there's still something you have to be aware of. And I'm all for helping people when you can. Like Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man is a fantastic game. When you help someone, you help everyone. I firmly believe that. If you put that energy into the world, it's gonna keep going. Energy's never destroyed, it's only changed. It just goes. If you help someone, it'll make them want to help someone, and then it becomes a domino effect. So if there was more of that, instead of, people being self-serving for the sake of self-serving, if people weren't just trying to get over on somebody, if they light a fire under their ass and do what they have to do, instead of trying to find an easy way out, and if they were able to develop healthy coping habits instead of projecting. I think with that, healthy coping habits, I think, is the biggest step. Because if you can't process the hardships, the stress, the struggle of everyday life in a healthy way, then your chances of getting out of it are getting smaller and smaller by the day. And if you're projecting it onto others, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, because they're not going to want to help you either at some point, unless your projection turns into manipulation, and then they're trauma bonded to you because, and I've seen it with some parents that, they're only nice to their kids when their kids are obedient. And so when they're not, they, the yelling, the screaming, possible physical abuse. It's just many different types of abuse to let the kid know that it's their fault that their parent is upset. It's their responsibility to make their parent happy. And it's not the case. You were not there to fix your parents. They raised you supposed to be self-sufficient. That is not on you. And when you grow up, when you're of age, when you're able to leave, you do not owe them anything. Because they're a family, that does not mean anything. If they abused you, neglected you, and made you feel like you weren't good enough, you do not owe them anything. Because at that point, they are not family. Y'all simply just share DNA. That does not mean shit. Every branch on the tree does not have to connect, If they were not a parent to you, you do not have to be a child to them. Absolutely not. And they will gaslight you. They will gaslight you and say, oh, but we're family. Blood is thicker than water. It does not matter. And the full quote for that, which is something that I hate that people do, is that they use half quotes to butcher the meanings. They say the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. Literally the opposite of what everyone's been using for years. Like, your chosen family is stronger than the family you were born into, because you have a choice. You can choose the people you want in your life that fill you. Just because you are stuck with them doesn't mean you have to stay stuck with them. Fuck them. Okay? You can help, but at the same time, if they've done nothing for you aside from give you life and feed you, because otherwise they would go to jail. I know sometimes they don't even do that. You do not owe them anything. And I firmly believe that. Because how can you rationally abuse someone for years and then expect them when they're older to take care of you when you can't take care of yourself? How can you expect them to be there for you in any capacity when you were never there for them? Make it make sense. You do not owe anyone anything in life except yourself and your own children. Because when you decide to have children, in my eyes, you are responsible for that child. You brought them into this world. You and the other person. So you have to make sure that child is prepared to be on their own in the world. You owe it to them. Otherwise, you would not have brought them into this world. That is the cause and effect. And I think that's something that, again, people are self-serving and selfish. Everyone is worried about their own, and I get that. But your actions have consequences. You need to understand that you share this planet with 8 billion other people. It is not all about you. You can make sure that you are taken care of and you are okay, but there are ways to do that that do not include screwing other people over. You can choose not to help somebody. Yeah, I believe in that. If someone's going through something, it's like, hey, fuck you. Whatever. It's like, no, you deserve that. I don't want to help you, or even then, I can't help you because I literally can't. If I help you, it puts me in a bad spot and I can't afford to be in a bad spot. That's completely fine. If you have $20 and someone asks for 10, but you can't give them the 20 because you need to finish paying a bill or your lights will go off, that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with saying no when you can't. Simple. And that's something that I had to learn too. I would give my last dollar to people to help them out, and then I would go hungry. But I would justify it because I would know that they're okay. But now I don't, because I'm choosing me. I'm at the point in my life where I want what I want. I want to do things for me. I want to be a streamer. I want to be a content creator. I want this podcast to do well. Are you listening? And when you choose yourself, people are going to call you selfish. People are going to say you switched up. People are going to say you aren't the same. But that's the point. Because who I was before, I wasn't happy with. So I'm glad that you said that I changed. Because now I'm on the way to changing into the person I want to be and the person I know I can be. And you deserve that. Don't let anyone tell you you don't. And almost an hour. On that note, I'm going to end this podcast here. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope you have a fantastic week. For those listening on Friday, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Take care of yourselves and be your own hero. Bye.